Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to dig into the thinking of one of the most recognized figures of the 20th century, Pope John Paul II. But we're looking at him through a really specific lens. Not just as a world leader, but as the architect of a powerful philosophy, one that gives us a pretty profound way to think about ourselves, our relationships, and especially what marriage is all about.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly sets the stage. We're being challenged to see marriage as something way more than just a social contract, more than a piece of paper. The idea is that it's a covenant, a promise that's built on this radical idea of the total gift of one person to another. So the question is, how did he even get to such a powerful idea?
Well, to really get to the heart of his philosophy, you have to understand the man himself, Karl Wojtyla. And his life wasn't some quiet, academic exercise in an ivory tower. No, his ideas were forged in the crucible of one of the most brutal periods in modern history. You have to picture this. As a young man in Poland during World War II, Wojtyla saw the absolute horror of dehumanization under the Nazi occupation firsthand. He lost his entire immediate family. He had to study for the priesthood in secret in a clandestine seminary. It was that experience of suffering and resistance that created in him this absolute, unshakable conviction that every single human person has a supreme, inherent dignity. And that idea became the bedrock for everything he thought from his time as a young priest all the way to his election as Pope in 1978.
So, what was this philosophy that totally grabbed him as a young man? It's called personalism. And I know, it's a big word, it might sound super academic, but trust me, the core idea is actually really simple, and at the same time, completely revolutionary.
So here's the main idea of personalism. Every single person has worth. It's built in. It's not something you earn because you're smart or successful or good-looking. It's just there. And that inherent dignity leads to the philosophy's golden rule. You can never treat a person like an object. Never like a tool for your own purposes. A person is never, ever a means to an end.
And this chart just makes it crystal clear. Think about an object, right? A hammer, a phone. Its value is in what it does for us. We use it. Personalism says a person is the complete opposite of that. A person doesn't have utility, they have dignity. They're not something to be used, they are someone to be loved and respected. That distinction between a person and an object is everything in personalist ethics. And it doesn't stop there. Personalism really pushes back against this modern idea of pure individualism, that we're all just separate atoms bouncing around. Instead, it argues that our very nature is relational. We aren't built to find fulfillment by ourselves. We are, as the source material puts it, beings for others. We discover who we really are through our connections. Okay, so this is where it all starts to get really practical. John Paul II didn't just read about this philosophy and agree with it. He took it and shaped it into something really profound, a real framework for how to live out this ideal of human dignity in our actual lives. He called this framework the personalist norm, which is really just the how-to guide that comes from everything we've talked about. If people have this incredible built-in dignity and must never be used, then how in the world should we act toward them?
His answer lies in this two-step process. First, he says, comes self-possession. Now, this isn't about being selfish. It's about recognizing your own inherent worth and dignity. You have to, in a way, possess yourself. Only after that can you move to the second step, self-donation. This is the ability to make a free, total, sincere gift of yourself to another person. It makes perfect sense, right? You can't give away something that you don't truly have in the first place.
And you can see him developing these ideas his entire life. It started early on when he laid out the whole moral framework in his book, Love and Responsibility. Then later, as Pope, he gave this incredible series of talks called The Theology of the Body, diving deep into how our physical bodies actually express who we are. And finally, he applied it all directly to the family in official teachings like Familiaris Consortio. So this brings us to what it's all been leading to. Let's bring it home. How does all of this philosophy, dignity, self-possession, the gift of self, how does it actually change the way we look at love, sex, and marriage in the real world?
Well, here's the crucial point. In personalism, physical intimacy is elevated. It's not just a biological function. It becomes a kind of language,
a really powerful physical way of expressing that self-donation we were just talking about. It's an extension of that core rule. If a person can't be used as an object, then their body can't be either. The body becomes a way to communicate the deepest truths about who you are and the promise you're making.
And this quote, it nails it. A marriage needs a genuine and disinterested gift of self. Now, that word disinterested, it's key. It doesn't mean you're not interested. It means you're giving of yourself without calculating, without asking, okay, but what am I getting out of this? It's a total gift, one that reflects the total dignity of the person you're with. And that's what allows a marriage to really flourish.
And where does all this lead? To one fundamental place, the family. In this view, the family becomes the very first school where we learn how to give ourselves away. It's a communion of persons, and it acts as the core building block for all of society.
So, we'll leave you with this to chew on. In a culture that so often screams, me first, that emphasizes radical independence, what does it mean to seriously consider a philosophy built on being for others? How might this vision of self-gift and profound dignity challenge or change the way you think about your own relationships? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.